Welcome to another video on my channel. Before I start my video, I want to announce that I'm finally on Buy Me a Coffee, where whoever wants to support me can go ahead and contribute $1 or become part of my membership, where you'll receive extras like study guides, iGCSE resources, notes, and so on. Please go ahead and check out my page. The link to it is in the description below. And yeah, let's get into the video. Okay, so welcome to another ultimate guide. This one is on economics iGCSE, and I believe this to be the ultimate guide to paper 1 and 2 of the Edexcel iGCSE economics qualification. So first of all, let's get into the important details about paper 1. These are just some random details which I feel are important for every student to know, even though they might be a bit random, as I said. So first of all, there's the code for the paper, which is 4EC1/01, and this is not essentially something that will help you pass the exam or something, but it's something that is still good to know. You should be aware of what your paper is called in terms of code. Next, this paper consists of 80 marks. Now, this is something really important to remember. You should know how much the paper consists of in terms of marks. So this one is 80 marks. Next, it constitutes for 50% of the total iGCSE. So when you give paper 1, it means that you've given 50% of your economic iGCSE qualification. Okay, fourth, this paper is 1 hour and 30 minutes long in total. That's the amount of time you get to write the paper, and this is the most important detail of all because it allows you to manage your time, make sure you don't miss out questions, do everything properly, correctly without panicking, and it's essential for when you're practicing because you can set a timer for 1 hour 30 minutes and then do paper 1, and you get the point, I hope. Lastly, the paper's name is Microeconomics and Business Economics. The reason why this is a little important is because you can remember what this paper assesses or what this paper is about through the name. So as you can see, the first paper of economics is related to microeconomics, as in the smaller part of economics where it's focused on one nation or on one economy and, small businesses and stuff. So moving on, let's look at the sections and questions in the paper. First of all, let me tell you that each of these questions is the same. Question 1 has a mix of MCQs, which are multiple choice questions, short answer questions, data response, and long response questions, which are long answer questions. And each of the other questions are exactly the same as well. So in total, there are 4 huge questions which have these sub-questions like MCQs, short answer, long answer inside them. And yeah, so you can't really see that there's a pattern, as in question 1, 2, 3, and 4 don't have anything that's specific to them. All of them are the same in the sense that they include all types of questions. Anything can come, but one thing that you do know is that it's about microeconomics and business economics. And then in total, all these 4 questions add up to the total 80 marks of this paper, and individually each of these questions is worth 20 marks each. Now, again, I said that this paper assesses microeconomics and business economics. If you want to know in detail exactly what topics and chapters this paper assesses, then you can go ahead and check the specification for Edexcel iGCSE economics, and yeah, that's down below in the description. I'm not going to go into it because this is strictly about the paper and not the syllabus. So yeah. Okay, so next I'm going to go straight into paper 2 and the important details about it, since both paper 1 and paper 2 are quite similar for economics. Usually for most subjects, each paper is different, but for economics, I found out that paper 1 and paper 2 are quite similar, so that's why I'm heading straight into paper 2 right now. So of course, first we look at the code, which is 4EC1/02. Next, this paper is for 80 marks, which is the first reason why both paper 1 and paper 2 are similar, because paper 1 was for 80 marks and paper 2 is also for 80 marks. Next, it also constitutes for 50% of the iGCSE, so once you finish paper 2, you complete another 50% of your economic iGCSE. And yeah, in total, paper 1 and paper 2 make up your total economics iGCSE. Next, it's also 1 hour 30 minutes long, the same as paper 1. Same timing, so that's another reason why both papers are similar. And yeah, this is something important to remember. You can note it down somewhere, or just write it or type it down on your computer or whatever, because this is something you should really remember for time management, as I said before. Okay, so yeah, lastly, this paper is about macroeconomics and the global economy. This is the main place where both the papers differ. This paper, paper 2, is about macroeconomics and the global economy. Macroeconomics being economics about a wider economy, about the global economy, about wider things like protection of the environment, economic growth, and those kind of macroeconomic objectives, etc. Once again, if you want to know more in detail about the chapters that paper 2 assesses, go ahead and check the specification from the description below. Okay, moving on, let's look at the questions in this paper, which are pretty similar to the ones in paper 1, so I'm just going to quickly go over them. There's question 1 with MCQs, short answer questions, data response, and long answer questions, and similarly there are 4 more questions like it, which add up to the 80 marks of the questions in the paper. And of course, each of these 4 questions are worth 20 marks each. Pretty much the same as the first paper. The main difference, please remember, are the topics. So if you're giving paper 1 and 2 on different dates, for example, you're giving paper 1 first, and then you're giving paper 2 later, at least you'll know which topics you have to revise for. So for example, paper 1 assesses the first few chapters of the textbook, for example, so you go ahead and only revise those topics properly for paper 1, and then when the time comes for paper 2, you revise the rest of the topics. Of course, if you have to give them both on the same day, you have to revise all of the topics, and that's pretty clear. But yeah, just a small advice. And yeah, that's it for paper 2. Now let's move on to the individual types of questions in the paper. So first of all, let's look at multiple choice questions. This is an example of a multiple choice question from the sample assessment material, which is given freely on the Pearson Edexcel website and which is also linked down below. So as you can see, the multiple choice questions are usually only for 1 mark, and they give you a range of options, obviously, and you have to select one. Over here, as you can see, what's the name given to a firm that dominates a market, and then there are lots of answers that you can choose from. Although MCQs do seem easy, they can be tricky at times, so you have to prepare for these as well. Next, let's move on to the other types of questions. Here are some short answer questions, which are equally as important as MCQs. So these range from 1 to 2 marks, usually not more than that, and they usually deal with definitions and formulae and, small things like that, which don't require you to explain a lot of things. So as you can see, the first one, what is meant by privatization? That's a definition of sorts, in which you might also include an example because it's for 2 marks. Then the second one, state the formula for price elasticity of demand. This is simply requiring you to state the formula. It's quite clear in the question, you just have to state it, don't explain it and waste time. It's also only for 1 mark, so you state the formula and that's it. Okay, then next there are calculation questions, and these do come quite a lot, especially in economics, because there's a lot of stuff about demand and supply and profit, total revenue. So you do need to practice this a lot. And also, another small advice, you have to take your calculator with you for the economics exam. That's very essential, otherwise you'll find yourself wasting time, like trying to jot down your calculations on the side with a pencil, and sometimes you can make silly mistakes, so you must have a calculator. Just a small tip. Okay, so yeah, these calculation questions are, not hard to do actually most of the times, but since they're tricky, people can get confused. So over here it says using the data in figure 1, which will be probably above or below, calculate the profit earned by the firm when it makes 1,000 items. You are advised to show your working. So yeah, another thing with these calculation questions, you have to show your working, which is why it's probably for 2 marks. Otherwise, you could calculate the profit simply by using your calculator, but you have to show your working. That's where you get your marks. And yeah, okay, so next we go on to diagram questions, which are another type of questions that come a lot in economics exams. So the first one here, using the diagram below, draw the effects of the introduction of a subsidy paid to producers on equilibrium price and quantity. Label the new curve, the new equilibrium price and quantity. So over here, they will give you a diagram in the exam paper, and you're supposed to draw the effects on it. So you're supposed to draw upon the given diagram, and you have to draw the effects of a stated thing. So over here, it's the effects of the introduction of a subsidy. And you also have to label what you have drawn. Labeling is very important in economics. If you don't label it, your diagram will not get full marks. It'll get marks, but it probably won't get the full 3 marks. And then the next question is also a diagram one, but in this one, you draw your own diagram without a given one in the exam paper. So as it says, draw a production possibility curve to show an economy moving from point X with unemployed resources to point Y, etc., etc. This is also for 3 marks. So as you can see, these questions range from 3 to 4 marks, maybe 5, but not usually. They can be for 5 marks or 6 marks if the question requires you to explain what your diagram is showing. Yeah, so I hope you understood that, and you can note all of this down while you're watching, or save this video to a playlist for future reference, because I believe that all of this information is important for everyone who wishes to pass and ace their economics iGCSE. Lastly, we have long answer questions. These are usually 6 to 8 marks, 9 marks as well. Here's an example with reference to the data above and your knowledge of economics. Analyze the impact of increased spending on education and training on the quality of labor in Ghana. So usually over here, they'll ask you to go through some data, probably some charts or a paragraph of information about Ghana, etc., or the situation in the world. And then you have to use your own knowledge, obviously, and then analyze the overall impact of, whatever it says in the question. So over here, increased spending on education and training. So what's the impact of increased spending and on education and training? What's the impact of that on the quality of labor in Ghana? So yeah, those are the types of questions that I tried to classify and explain for you from the exam paper, from the sample assessment paper. And yeah, these are the types of questions that I think occur the most in the exam. There might be some other types of questions as well, which I might not have covered, but I hope this is something comprehensive and concise that gives you a quick overview of what might come in the exam and prepares you for what's to come, so that you have a broader understanding of what you'll be assessed about and so on. I hope you found this video useful, and yeah, that brings us to the end. Thanks for watching.